viewers, welcome to today's episode of Real Talk with Papa Martins. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about mental health. Enjoy the show. Welcome to this episode of Real Talk with Papa Martins. In the studio today, I have a guest. We shall be talking about mental health awareness. Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Please introduce yourself to the viewers.
My name is Mercy Mutua. I'm a psychological counselor and I'm also a child therapist.
Welcome, Mercy, to our studio. Today, I want us to look at mental health awareness. Looking at the global effect of the COVID-19. So it's becoming more important for everybody to be aware of their mental well-being. So, what is mental health?
Mental health is the aspect of well-being. We are talking here of how someone is feeling. We are talking about thinking, and we are talking about how they are also acting or behaving. So it also goes with the psychological, the emotional, and the social and the physical well-being. So when we put it together, that's what is mental health.
Okay, so mental health is our holistic well-being, emotional, psychological, everything that has to be to do with the feel-good aspect of life.
Yes.
Okay, so how can an individual measure the state of their mental health? How does one know if they are okay in their mental health?
One will know whether they are okay by how they will be acting. If there are emotions which are just coming up, you will get to understand when a behavior changes all of a sudden, then you understand that there's a need of maybe it's mental illness. When someone is angry, someone is sad, there's the aspect of fear, they are shocked, they are sleeping, their lines of sleeping is not the same, it has changed. They are eating habits, they may now eating much or they are not even eating at all. It can also be that they are isolating, they are alone, they just want to be away, be withdrawn. So those are some of the things when you observe, you understand that there is a need of mental checkup or a need of someone to go for therapy when you observe this.
So when somebody discovers that their eating habit has changed, so when we talk about eating habit, is it when you begin to eat less or when you begin to eat more?
It can be either. And again, it is also not just eating. You know, when we are talking about mental health and you want to observe and get to understand whether somebody is affected, you look, one, maybe if it is a workplace, they have changed and you can see that they are not they are not acting the way they were before. So those are the times you need to understand maybe there's a problem there. At home, you get to understand that this person seems to have changed the way they talk. Maybe nowadays it's much of quarrel or there's a lot of anger. Those are you can't just wait in one time. Maybe somebody has decided not to eat. So it is a combination of a lot of aspects for you to diagnose and assess and say there's a problem. You have to also be very observant to see.
Okay, you did mention withdrawal. So this mental state, some of the things that we observe to know if somebody is suffering from mental health disorder is when maybe they are overeating or undereating,
Yes.
when they are withdrawn,
Yes.
and maybe when now they are no longer as active as they used to be. And you also mentioned one of the signs is that their behavioral pattern changes, like anger. Okay, so what are those things that triggers mental health disorders?
Maybe somebody has unfinished business they have gone through, we have talked about COVID. COVID brought a lot of issues. And if somebody was not affected directly, they were affected indirectly. Now, talking of, for example, when I was looking at what is happening in the country we are living in, talk about loss and grief. Loss and grief is something which is already eating our country, and it's something which is already sinking, and people are going through issues. And I can say this because when we talk of grief, we are not just talking of only death. We are talking now of separation and divorce. We are talking of people who lost their jobs. We are talking about youths who are not employed. We are talking about financial instability. And we are talking about even the economic crisis we are talking about here. So any sort of a loss, we are calling it, people are grieving and they're in different stages. And I tend to think that when you see people the way they are behaving and the increase of the cases we have now, I believe it is because people are still trying to come in terms of reality of what happened last year. And I can say this because we have seen the increase of suicidal cases. We have also seen the increase of depression. We have seen the increase of drug substance and abuse. Those emotions of COVID, they have really triggered people to behave very differently. And I think now it is time to create to create mental awareness more. Of course, on the ground, it is still eating on the ground. It is still people are doing something on the ground. But I believe this is the time we need to come up. There's a lot which is needed. I've been following about those people who are dying by suicide, and I got to understand that even though sometimes that doesn't come in the TV, if you are so much following in the social media, each and every week you are hearing that a soul or a person has died by suicide. Either they were working in an environment where they felt that things were not working out. It's either a relational issue or what they talk about when you follow the story, it is about the workplace. So it is time now to start talking more of mental health and get to understand that people are suffering outside there. Because when somebody reaches to the stage of taking their life, it is just a solution in that moment. And I need to make it clear that if somebody has reached to a stage of taking their life, they can also harm the others. They can also kill the others. And if anybody who has been keen about even the cases we have been seeing in our media, you get to understand that somebody, maybe they have killed their wife, they have killed their children, and now they have been caught up when they are trying their life. Now that one tells you that when somebody is in the state of being in a suicidal stage, they are still not harmful to themselves but to the others. So we need to take responsibility that when we see the signs I've just spoken about, somebody is sad, is bursting with emotions, we need to interrogate and get to understand what's going on. I have observed that this and this is happening to you. What could be the matter? And it can be, maybe these things are happening just to the next door. It can be your neighbor. It can be your friend. And if we are seeing those signs, then it is us now, we need to bring out our voice and speak about the issues. Looking also at what is happening about the GVB is gender-based violence, and you see there's a lot which is happening on the ground. And I need to say this, that the cases of gender-based violence are also in the increase. Remember, we are still talking about people who when COVID came, a lot of it was said that a lot of men were locked in. Some of them, you see this curfew thing, it really affected people in the sense that you could not go and you were used to go. And now you are there with maybe your wife, whom maybe you have never been having good terms with, but your coping mechanism was going to check the ball or just to be away with the other friends outside there. But now it came to a time when you are now together. So things have just been happening. It is time for us to understand when things are not working out, we need to look for help. I can say even for women, saying that I want to protect my family and not speaking out when you are being abused, then the question would be, how am I helping myself? Because emotionally you're already wounded and suffering. If issues have just been, if issues you have been piling issues, you have been abused, if somebody has been abused physically or emotionally, just know that there is a possibility of it happening again. And unless it is sorted, unless it is resolved. And the one has to observe shockingly that when things are just getting out of hand, it is always good to pause back and ask whether you are worthy staying where you are emotionally very unstable and you are suffering. I remember there's a time we were working in the informal settlement, and we got those ladies who are going through that. And one thing they could say is, I have children, and I have a husband who is providing, I have no job. So to them, you are leaning on the fact that your husband is working, and then you are being abused, so you are humiliating that because of that. I think it is time to empower them, and it is time to let them understand that even with their own hands, they can also be able to work. Of course, we are saying that it is not a walk from the park, living a marriage, but when it gets just out of hand and you are really suffering, you are seeing the symptoms we have talked about, you are depressed, you even at work, maybe you are not able to coordinate, things are just getting out of hand. Being helped when you are outside the abuse would even be better. And again, I'm saying this, when somebody gets out of, when they have separated, when a husband has separated with the wife, it is always good to seek for help, because that is a loss. These people are suffering emotional abuse. And for whatever reason, if they have to separate, something needs to be done. Because we have come to realize that some of the cases we are seeing for suicide, then if it is because of divorce and separation, then the solution could be, if I've opted out of that marriage, then I need to be helped emotionally to stabilize and know how I can be able to work, to start again and move on. Now, for those ones who, I remember we were telling them, because somebody has to choose. It is a choice. If you are staying in such kind of a relationship, if you are staying in such kind of an environment, because now, one thing we are really teaching the women outside there is, what can you do with your hands? Can you be able to start a business? Can you be able to look for a job? And sometimes you hear them saying that they're not even given that time for somebody to go and work. But by the end of it, the society, the stigma of society and what people will say should not be a reason of you getting so, staying so much in an abusive and toxic relationship, whereby now you are no longer functioning so well. So for your own sake, for the sake of your life, and for the sake of your, even children who are growing, then you may need to see where the differences are. That one can still be done when you are outside, in the sense that if for so many years, you have not been able to settle things, and every time triggers come, the emotions which have been making your husband to beat you have not gone. Something will just come up again and again and again, until now you start. The question will be, would it be better for me to get out before this gets out of hand, where we are saying maybe somebody loses their life, or somebody is hospitalized and you lose, maybe you start losing your maybe your hand or your leg. So it is time now to look up and to see things in a clear way. I have thought that this is a very these are very important issues to speak about. And remember, one of the things with the NGOs outside here, there is something we call, there are those we would call GVB advocates. I think if people speak out, they get to understand who are those people who are maybe the CGVs or people who are working there. If you don't know how you can be able to access help, those are the people, the Nyumbakumis, the people who have already been appointed by the government, the chiefs and all that. People have been getting help through that because they have a certain role when such kind of instance comes in. The other thing is anybody who is meant to be your protector, and instead what they're doing now is that you're being beaten up, then it's like I'm losing it in this relationship if that is the case. The other thing is you have the one who is very responsible to make it work. Then now will it work, and one side only cannot sustain the stability of that marriage. I'll only be risking my life if I'm the one who is taking the whole responsibility of that marriage to work. So sometimes the shoe you are wearing is only you who can understand. So anybody outside there and they are staying in abusive relationships, sometimes it's just a matter of time. You start hearing things are just piling up emotions, bitterness, unforgiveness. So it is time maybe you can seek even the counseling and therapy when you are still in. But if you observe and know that it's a danger zone, rather go outside and seek help from there. I'm saying this: marriage, abusive relationship cannot define you in the sense that you are already very unstable there. Yes. So outside here, you can even be able maybe to do well. When you stabilize, your emotions are stabilized, when your mind is working well, then you will continue, you still move on with your life and move on so well because you living it and doing well with your life and just understanding and accepting that it has happened and dealing with it as a loss, you can be able to wipe yourself again and start working again. So that is when we come to the GBB issues. And again, women need to know that it is also their right. They have rights. Anybody who has already started abusing you in a relationship, there is also the legal law of the fact that they should even be jailed. So we need to understand that everybody is valuable, everybody is very important. Men are also important in those relationships. So even them, I understand that they also go through these issues. So they also need to start speaking up. I believe that it is not only women who are suffering in gender-based violence or domestic violence. So they need also to start speaking up so that we can be able to add to these matters and to help people. I believe that people maybe are also getting a little more concerned when you see more issues are coming up. And it's not just in the informal settlement. It's also those people are also wealthy. As long, emotions and the issues, unsorted issues, do not know about your ground. When they are not sorted, they're just there. Those are, you can just keep on suppressing them, but bottling them. But by the end of it, they will burst out one day. So it is time for everyone to seek help. I think the other issue was there's also the aspect of economic crisis in the nation we are living now. I remember very well that I saw people write something, and they were saying that food prices should go down. At times it is a voice of people who are communicating. Right now, when you look at what how things are going, then you understand that there's need. People are concerned. If I get out with my car here, I'm not sure whether I'll get fuel now at the time we're living now. I remember we did a survey in February in one of the informal settlements, and we got to understand that when we were doing our survey, we understood that most of them, they say that they eat 1 meal in a day. If anything, maybe they eat 2. And when we talk of 2 meals, it means a breakfast, which is just a black tea, with the mandazi. So I'm just imagining now, talking of the economic crisis right now and what is already going on, you get to understand that people are suffering. Now, can you imagine those who were just able to afford 1 meal, and it was more than 100 households which we were able, our group was able to reach, and we understood that most of them, they are talking about 1 meal. It is time to know whether the wife, the husband there, and the children, whether they have eaten. Those are just your neighbors there. And it is time now, even a phone call, to get to understand whether somebody is doing well. This is the time. Because when we talk of financial crisis, and we talk people that do not have food, it means sharing. It means giving what we have. Because if the people in the middle class now are saying that things are hard, I'm just imagining the people in the informal settlement and what is even happening to them. We are raising our voices here, but some of them, they are totally living by depending on what the casual labor they go for every day. And sometimes you see these are also people who go into drugs because that is a coping mechanism. So we need to address all the issues which people are going through. And if it is a budget, people have now to reduce their budgets. If it's something which is a luxury, then you have to put it down. If somebody was staying in a house, they are paying 20,000, and your salary has been cut, it is now time for you to live for 10,000 because that is what you have. I believe this is something which we do not have to bury our heads, but talk the truth that it is touching everybody. I may be here and maybe I can afford food, but you have relatives or your neighbors whom you understand that they are not having food or even the basic needs. So love and sharing and being kind will be very important at a time like this when the economy, when we are saying that there is an economic crisis. Talking of economic crisis, we also understand is that the youth employment. The youths right now, most of them, they are saying, I applied this, I have not gotten this job, I have tried to do this, but it's not working out. One thing I can say is, what do you have in your hands? Could it be that when you open up your eyes and you start small business, that will help you, even at this time? Could it be that you are just so much waiting of the job of what you learned, that those jobs are not even there? Can you even work with what you have? Is there a way you can go to an institution which is so potential, and by the end of it you may be able to get a job? So youth outside there, they need to think big. They need to start brainstorming. They need to think, so 10 years from now, where do I want to be? And just running with that vision, running with that in their minds, it will help them. Rather than just sitting in the house from morning to evening and doing nothing here to here. Wasted time can never be recovered. Wasted time is wasted time, and you can't, if a year has gone, it has just gone. So it is time to wake up and see, what can I be able to do? It is not just a matter of going to the office. I can start selling something outside there, whether it is opening a shop, whatever it is. Just coming out uniquely with that brain where you went for that degree and started something. I can see some of them on YouTube. There are channels where they're coming out and they're speaking very sensitive matters. They're also speaking out so loud with a lot of content. And those are the things we are talking about. Let them come up, let them have networkings, let them network, talk to people, go to church, go to social places, and I believe every youth will be able also to get something. There's also finances from the government where they allocate and say this one is for the youth. They need to wake up and see, how do I do that? What is the procedure? What is the process? Coming out with groups makes it easier for them to access rather than just an individual coming out with business. So it is time for them now to start going out and seeing how they can do. Because we are saying that getting outside there and coping, we are saying that drug substance and abuse is a negative way of coping. we are seeing that most of our youth now are also getting to these drugs. When we talk of drug substance and abuse, they are more than alcohol. We have cannabis, we have heroin, we have cocaine, we have cigarettes. So there are so many. And once they use that as a coping mechanism, then we are also losing them. There is also the issue of sexual aggression in our youth. And it is something maybe which they also need to deal with, in the sense that it's also a negative way of dealing with your stress. It's a negative way of coping. So I think it is time now to look also for the better ways of coping. Talking of drug substance and abuse, there's this thing which I have come to realize. I am in so many groups of mental health, and every week there's a need of a counselor, specifically a mental counselor, needed in a rehab. And I've come to realize that it is because there's a need. If there was no need, then we could not see those vacancies which are being announced that they need a counselor. So what does that tell you? A lot of people are coping with drug substance and abuse. Even with the economic crisis we are talking about, they are going outside there and they think that is a solution. And I can tell them that it is always something to make them high at that time. But when you wake up in the morning, you are still with your stress and the issues with your meal. You just wake up with them the next day. So it is time for us to raise up our eyes and say, then drug substance and abuse is an issue which we are facing in the society. It is just not the youth, but also the adults and even children. Let me tell you one of the things which happens. The availability of some of these drugs make them to access, especially those people who are staying in slums. You get to understand that accessing of some of these drugs, it's very easy. They are very accessible, and that's one of the maybe something which maybe the peddlers and the people who are selling. We need to understand that we are just creating a problem, which maybe it is time to start thinking how can that be solved. If even children can even tell you that. I remember there is one place, and children could say, this is what is sold here, and it is a specific zone where a certain drug substance is just being sold. And to them, because of curiosity, the youth, there they are. And if we have not equipped our youth with life skills, and learn how to be also resilient, and learn how to also to know how to say yes and no to some of these things, then when we are bringing them in such kind of environment, they start being defined also by the peer pressure around that. So it is time for us now to, when we see things which are not correct, then we need to speak out. Talking of people who have gone until the addiction stage, they just started from somewhere before they got there. You get to understand that maybe this is a family where alcohol, everybody is taking, but someone has sunk until they are now in the addiction stage. We do not have to judge them. We need to create the room for them and to embrace them in the sense that when they feel neglected and abandoned from their families, then they get more lost into what they are taking, into the drug they are abusing. So it is time to understand that when you see somebody who has gone for drugs and they are addicted, there is a root problem of it. Remember, it might be a family where everybody is taking, our great parents we are taking, now we are also bringing our own generation and children who are also taking alcohol. So it is a pattern, and once it becomes a pattern, it is a cycle which needs to be broken. And we need to understand that even when people have gotten to that stage of addiction, we need to embrace them. Remember, can you imagine that if I'm taking alcohol and I'm so much bitter and I'm so much I'm with the hatred with somebody who is in addiction, how sensible is that? everybody is already taking just because I've slept. Now it becomes a problem. So it is time for us to understand that it's a way they are coping, and accepting them and embracing them in our families will mean a lot. Yes, there is also the part of relapse which comes in.
Before we come to relapse, thank you for that elaborate explanation. If you are joining the show just right now, this is Let's Talk with Papa Martins, and in the studio today I have with me Mercy, a psychologist and a child therapist, taking us through the mental health awareness. There is something she mentioned when she was talking about the gender-based violence. If you are in an abusive relationship, seek help or you get out before you are taken out in a body bag. You don't have to die before people come to rescue you. Seek help. There are help available. Now, talking about the triggers for mental health, before you talk about coping with addiction or rescue. Now, we've talked so much about the gender-based violence in relationships, maybe family setting, marriage setting, or love relationship of any kind. Now, before you go to the coping skills with addiction, let's look at the violence that we suffer, workplace violence. A lot of people are being abused at work, maybe because of toxic environment. What are the signs of a workplace mental health disorder?
In a workplace where you know there's something you want to address, and you get to understand that some of the workers, you don't know how to assess that, in the sense that there's those fears sometimes of boss. I believe it is time to create a channel in our workplace whereby matters can be reported, because you get to understand that people on the ground, they speak of issues which they are facing and they are coping with, including maybe even the job they are doing. They are tired, it is maybe too much. Now reaching there, you know, there's that stigma of losing a job. There's that stigma of, now if I get out of here, what will my children eat? So you get to understand that in the workplace, people need to have a safe zone of speaking what they're going through. One of the things I can tell you about maybe bosses, we need to be so willing to listen and to understand what our people are going through. Because one of the things which I have come to realize, when something happens to one of them, let's say, remember we talked about grief and loss. Somebody has lost their relationship, okay? Or they have lost their loved one, birthday. And all of a sudden, and that person was so good in work, they come, and because they had a complicated grief, which has not been processed, they're coming back to work in your place. Now, when they come, and you get to understand that they are not operating as before, you get to understand that they are emotionally very low. They are so isolated and they feel worn out. You get to understand that maybe after 1 week, somebody has already given out their resignation letter. Now, if I was a boss, this is what I will do. One, I will ask myself, how come such a sudden sort of a decision of somebody who has just come from a grief? They didn't say this before, no one else who had this before. So anybody who has gone through an issue, they can even bring it to a workplace if it is not resolved. And sometimes bosses will say that somebody is not already working well, that they were performing so well, but it is a mental illness, in the sense that they are feeling as if they could have gone with that person. They feel so empty. There's that void which I want to fulfill. Now, if I was the HR of that place, I would be so willing to look for help for this person, because I understand that something is not right. It is not about the resignation. It is about the anger, it's about the bitterness, it's about the maybe depression, which has come to this person, and that's why they are acting the way they are acting out. So in the workplace, we need to be sensitive when things happen to our workers. The second thing is having a platform where you have meetings and let people pour out, even if not through you directly. Appoint a person who can be able to listen to the grievances of the people, because some of them will not tell you that they are separated with the husband or the wife. And before you know it, you're saying that they are not performing, things are not working out for them. To them, that relationship meant a lot to them, but it is just breaking. But because there is that belief of the fact that I don't want to speak out my issues, then somebody is just dying so slowly in there. So there should be those channels of communication, so that for the productivity of those members, if also possible, they need to approach some of the organizations which does supervision, so that they can bring somebody from outside who can listen to them. I remember somebody who was being questioned and viewed, and they said that they call for supervision for their workers, so that they can know what to improve, where they in terms of their mental health, and that one has worked for them. And also giving breaks to those who need them. Some of the people who work in some places, they work a lot of so many hours, such that they don't have even time with their families, they don't have time for their social life. They are just so much lost in that job, in the sense that the other way of living is not, they are not able to balance. So if somebody comes in the office and they want 3 days off because they are fatigued, then because I'm outside here and you understand what mental health is, somebody is having a burnout, then it is always good for you to give them leave. If that will mean them going for a retreat for 3 days and coming back when they are refreshed, then as a boss, that one will be so good. The other thing is, if they have, if they feel, you feel that as a boss that you are seeing some symptoms of mental illness in any of them, then you need to call them and ask them what could be happening. I need to help you. Could we call a therapist to help you? Would you work with a therapist now that you have just come from grief, and as we've seen you bringing this letter, can I first refer you to a counselor? And maybe before you know it, you are helping somebody who is now going to sink in a depression. So to me, that is one thing which I have observed.
Oh, thank you so much for that. In Kenya, it has been observed that there are 3 major mental health disorders that are very common. Depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. Yeah, and from the things you have been saying, you are saying that these substance abuse, people use it as a coping mechanism.
Yes.
Yeah. So the question to you is, what are the signs to look out for? You know, when we talk about depression, when we talk about anxiety, when we talk about substance abuse, and when we now talk about addiction, before somebody goes to that state of being addicted to a substance, what are the simple things that their loved ones should look out for specifically? For instance, if it's somebody in a relationship, love relationship, if it's somebody who is suffering from work-based trauma, or if it's somebody who is just going through emotional grief because of maybe a breakup in a marriage or in a relationship, loss of job, or the loss of a loved one. What are the simple things I should look out for when I look at my friend and I will know something is not right with this guy? You did mention it before, but for those who are just joining us, in simple terms, what are the signs I should look out for a friend who might be going through depression, or who might be going through anxiety, or who might be going through mental illness?
Some of the symptoms to look for when we are saying that somebody has depression, one, they are so sad, you look at them, they are so angry. This is not the way I left you, the way you are talking. Those are simple things which somebody needs to observe. Loss, what have they lost? If a man has lost a job, they just feel now they want to, for them to start coping. Some of them, they go to alcohol. They think that is the way of, of bringing down the emotion and the pressure from that family. Because, to them, that was quite something. And knowing that, let me bring it this way. When we talk of addiction, and I believe this, that many people are going to addiction, especially this alcohol and the drug substance. Maybe it is men, because they don't speak up, okay? You get to understand that they are not speaking up about their issues. So they are just looking for ways of coping. And they learn to things, you know, which are already like destructive coping ways. Because if somebody has gone to drugs, then they are now choosing the wrong path. Now, I think it is time, because you know, women are so verbal. They can even get outside there and you look, somebody is already airing out their grievances. But a man will keep it to themselves. I think it is time we are saying that men now need to get out and know that speaking out will not make them to be weak. Speaking out their needs will not make them to be less than what they have. It is just a matter of just being stable in what they're doing. It is a matter of just helping them to cope better both in their relationship and in their families. So if somebody has started becoming so violent, you know, you get to understand that this is a sign of somebody who is getting out. And maybe it is because, apart from losing a job, the other thing can be the fact that they are not in good terms with the wife. I don't know whether you have had somebody who has gone outside to drink and they are drinking for their wife. In the sense that when they come home, they'll be so violent and they'll bring everything out now. There are those who will speak, you know, they will speak because of what they have taken. It is making them to behave the way they are. So outside there, they go, you hear somebody saying, I'm going to drink for my wife, because when they are sober, they're not able to address those issues, and they think that is the way out. So those are some few things we need to observe. When we say a trigger, this is what we are talking about. We are talking about buried or suppressed emotions, and that once such kind of event comes again, you know, they blow, they come harm. That is what we are calling a trigger here. You'll be quarreling with your wife, this man about finances, come next month, she has already told you something again about finance. It just continues piling. And those are the things we are calling triggers. Now, when we come to people who have gone to alcohol and we are talking about triggers can be their family, it can be also the availability of what they've been using. If you've been keeping alcohol in the fridge and have been rehabilitated because of that, now what does that mean to me? We need to create very safe places for these people when they have been taken for help. And we need to work with them. Even when they go back, we need to embrace them and ask them, so maybe what has happened and how can we help you? You know, how can we work with you here? Rather than nicknaming them, telling them that they're addicts, they're good for nothing, and calling them names will not help in any way. So I think those are some of the things which I can say. We need to look at the fears. We need to look at the people who are now. If you were talking with somebody, let me tell you one thing. It's always a coping mechanism for people, some people, to be so quiet and to withdraw. Somebody has withdrawn from social media completely. You are there and you're their friend. You have stayed like 3 months. You have not even known what is going on with that person. That person could be even depressed. There's also the aspect of some other people. People are writing her before they go for this suicide. I remember there is this lady who wrote and said, I'm so tired, I'm feeling so helpless with my child. And it is another group where it is called parenting. And before you know it, you look at the comments of the people and we get to understand it is time to embrace each and every one of them. Wherever somebody is, mental health, it is something which we now need to be so sensitive about people when they are communicating. What are they saying? If they are saying that they are getting to their end, they are, before somebody takes an action, they have thought about it first. Before it materializes, they have thought about it first. So if I see somebody has gone to the social media and they are my friends, and what they are saying that they're so tired of living in this house, the work is not working for them, their relationship at home is not even working for them, and they are just saying that enough is just enough, then that is person who is now crying out for help. Now looking at it and start mocking them is not of help at any time. If somebody is there and you're working, you see somebody has written like that, is mocking them, then we have not been helping at all. They are shouting very loud to be helped. So those are some of the symptoms we need to observe for those who are calling for help.
Thank you so much. One thing she has said, create a safe space, a safe place for yourself in your home, at work. If you're an employer, create a safe place for your employees. If you are married, man and woman, create a safe place for your partner and for your children. If you are an employee, create a safe place for your fellow workers and also for those who employ you. And learn to speak out when you feel any negative emotion. Do not pile things up. Speak out. Don't feel stigmatized because of how you feel. Reach out. There is help waiting for you somewhere. It is not a weakness for you to say you need help. It is not a weakness for you to say I'm losing it. I need assistance. It is actually strength. This is Rito with Papa Martins. As we wind up the show today, I would like to take your final thoughts. So what is your final advice to the people out there as they take care of their mental health?
I need to let people know there that the way we perceive counseling and the way we perceive people who are experts in this area of mental health, that we need, maybe it is time for us now to start thinking. I remember there's somebody who was writing somewhere and they said that it is a mere talk. I want to help somebody to understand that counseling is not a mere talk. When I am speaking with you, there's a technique I'm using, there's a skill I'm using, there's that flow which I'm using, and somebody has gone to school for maybe 4 years. So it is a matter of, they're using their cognitive to help you. It is not just a mere talk. And I want to help somebody outside there get to understand that counselors have different abilities. When you seek your help from a competent counselor, you'll be helped. One, there are those who are expert in drug substance and abuse. Get specific ones who have gone to study that specific, not just in general counseling. If it is children, get a child therapist. And if it's children and adolescents, if it is matters of relationship and marital, there are some people who have gone, apart from what they have done, they are now experts in helping people in their relationship and in marriage. Whether it is any other addiction, there are those who can even be able to solve those who are sexual addiction. There are those who have also done that. So it is very broad, mental health is very broad, and people need to understand that there is help outside here. There are counselors, and we need to get to understand that we are still a bit far in terms of sensitizing and helping people understand that seeking help for counseling and therapy, it's not that you are insane. It's only that you want to go and they start, when you go for counseling, you become aware. There's that self-awareness which comes in. There's empowerment which takes place. There's also your mind becomes open. You can be able to brainstorm and get to understand what is my next step. Okay? There is also the aspect of the fact that your blind spots, something which myself I'm struggling with, somebody else, you have sat with them and they're using theories and they're using all what they've been taught in a proper way. They will help you understand that you have a problem here. So it is upon you now to they help you to make a decision. They don't make a decision for you. So when you go for counseling, you are already helping yourself. And they know there are people outside there who can testify that they have gotten help from counseling. So it is now time for us to embrace them and get to understand that it is also a profession and it is also work like any other person. We need to understand the cases which are so for mental health. There's the part of there are some who are clinical psychologists, if there's severe depression and some other disorders, they are experts in that. When we come to psychological counselor, I've mentioned the domains of the expertise. and where they can be able to keep you. Now, from the clinical psychologists, they are able to know where to refer to the psychiatric and all that, and the process goes like that for treatment. So let people seek for treatment, let people go for therapy, and somebody maybe to reflect back if they have gone for counseling and watch whether it was really helpful. And it is time maybe now for us now to start initiating and talking about the benefits we are also getting through the counselors and through the experts and the psychologists who are outside here, and also to appreciate their work. Because I can tell you for a fact, it is during this COVID thing, because people were hit so much, and it is like a disaster. You know, trauma? It is like a trauma. And everybody was like traumatized at that time. That is when it hit on the ground until now, even our government advised there is a need of mental health. So now that it has started, it was not prioritized before, but right now at least there is some progress. Let's embrace that progress, let's create awareness, let's talk to our friends, let's talk to our neighbors, let's be aware of our surroundings, and through that, we shall reduce the cases of GBV, we shall reduce the cases of suicidal ideation, we shall reduce the cases of depression, and we shall be also able to help and embrace those who are coming out of relationships which are not working. We shall be able to embrace them, and we shall be able to understand that the society and the society norms is what will defines you. Your definition is what you have been made to become by your maker. So any other people who are saying otherwise, that is how they perceive. But you, if you stand with your feet, value yourself, know that you are living for a purpose, live for that purpose, and get to your destiny, then all is going to be well.
Thank you so much, Mercy, for this elaborate discussion today on mental health awareness. Viewers, this is what we call it a day. Do not die in silence. When we talk about mental health, we are not talking about you going insane. We are just talking about you looking out for yourself. And counselors don't just talk. They give you life skills to cope with whatever stress or the stresses that life may bring your way. So please go out there and seek help if you need one. Until I come to your view next time, this is Rachel with Papa Martins. Enjoy your time.